This is working.
Please rise. We'll start with the prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in this decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be good for our city. We also pray for your special blessings on all of those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we've been asked for a moment of silence. Councilor Mercia.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, roll call.
Council Mercia.
Here.
Council Milanazzo.
Here.
Council Noonan.
Here.
Mayor Samaras.
Here.
Council Cirillo.
Here.
Council Conway.
Here.
Council Elliott.
Here.
Council Kennedy.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Here.
9 present.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for two people who passed away this week. The first being Louise B. Paquette, beloved wife of Adrian Butch Paquette. Louise was educated from the Lowell schools and graduated from Keith Hall. She was employed by Raytheon and the Lowell Sun. Besides her husband, Louise is survived by her 4 children, Kenneth, Pamela, Brian, and Karen, and her 9 grandchildren, and her brother-in-law, Bernie Lemoyne. She was a wonderful woman who will be extremely missed. I'd also like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Carol J. Safran, beloved husband of the late Catherine Safran. He enlisted in the United States Army in 1942 and served his country proudly during World War II, where he received the Purple Heart. Carroll was employed by Raytheon in Andover until he retired in 1985. Carroll was a great man and father, and it showed in how he lived his life. He was a member of the Senior Citizens Club and the Holy Name Society of Holy Trinity Church. You could always find him working bingo and helping make pierogies at the church. He was an altar server and usher for the Holy Trinity until last year when he turned 96. Carroll is survived and will be deeply missed by his children Anna, Kathleen, Walter, 7 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren. Our sympathy to their family, relatives, and many friends. They will be truly missed, as well as all the people who passed on since our last city council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll darken the chambers. Thank you. Before we begin tonight's session, we have under mayor's business. First, the recognition of the African Cultural Association's distinguished guest who's here with us today, Professor PLO Lumumba of Africa. I have a quick autobiography of him I'd like to read and then ask him to come forward. On Saturday, the African Cultural Association hosted Professor PLO Lumumba as the distinguished speaker at their appreciation and awards night. Professor Lumumba served as the director of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission from September 2010 to August 2011, and is a leading expert and advocate for the anti-corruption efforts in that country and throughout Africa. He has also served as the director and chief executive officer of the Kenya School of Law, and was associate professor of public law and the founding dean of the Kabarak University School of Law. Professor Lumumba also lectured law at the University of Nairobi, the United States International University in Africa at the Widener University. He is an advocate of the high courts of Kenya and Tanzania. He holds a Bachelor of Laws and Master of Laws degree from the University of Nairobi and a Doctor of Laws on the Law of the Sea from the University of Ghent, Belgium, as well as several honorary degrees. Councilor Leahy and Councilor Conway and myself were present at his presentation that night, and truthfully, he was all-inspiring. I'd just like everybody to meet Professor Lumumba. Is Professor Lumumba? Would you please come up to the microphone? Would you like to say a few words, please? Just welcome to the Lowell City Council. Welcome again to Lowell.
Thank you.
You're on.
Thank you very much. First, let me say how glad I am to be present in this august gathering. I want to thank my host, the African Cultural Association, and the honorable members of this council for inviting me. It gladdens my heart and humbles me at once to recognize that the efforts we make on a daily basis in the continent of Africa have received recognition in the United States of America. I'm very happy, of course, to be here because this country stands out, as you say, the land of the pilgrim's pride. And I've always been gladdened that it gives opportunity to people from different parts of the world to gel together and giving words, meaning to the words of the great Buddha, who said that like water and milk, we should learn to mingle regardless of our origin. I'm happy also to see that democracy thrives in this part of the world, even in the face of its difficulties. There is no doubt in my mind that indeed the kind of openness that I see here is the mother's milk of true democracy. Africa continues to struggle with democracy, but I have no doubt in my mind that as we continue to interact with societies that have given pride of place to democracy, we will realize our potential. It is important to recognize, as I said during the function on Saturday, that Africa is the cradle of mankind. And I'm happy to note that men and women from the continent of Africa have received recognition and acceptance in this part of the world. On an occasion such as this, it doesn't befit one to speak for too long, but permit me to express my profound gratitude for granting me this opportunity to share my thoughts with you and to be present in your midst. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you. We want to thank Ben O'Para for bringing you here. But, Professor, before we end this, the one thing we want to do is give you a key to the city. And as far as I'm concerned, when we talk about giving a key to the city, we want to say, you're welcome back. You have the key to open our doors, and you're truly welcome because you're truly a leader. But one of the things I have to say, I'd like to give you the key from myself, but the new keys aren't in yet. So if I gave you the key, it would have Mayor Kennedy on it. So not to confuse anyone, would have former Mayor Kennedy present you with the key. But I'd like to have the entire City Council come up for a photo op. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Lumumba. I need a motion to accept and place on file.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion by Mr. Kennedy, second by Ms. Council Cirillo. Thank you. Before we again go on to our program, tonight is the recognition of the Lowell Sustainability Council Green Awareness winners. You know, when you talk about our future, sometimes when I was out on the road talking about why I want to be a city council, one of the things I did talk about is the idea of going green. Why? Because we want to make sure our children have a world that is safe. And we have tonight award winners, and I'd like to the first award winner from the Sustainability Council was the University of Massachusetts Lowell. The Pelchino Tong Business Center was awarded the 2017 Green Design Award. Accepting the award for UML is Tom Dreyer, Vice Chancellor, Rich Lemoyne, Executive Director, Gene Robinson, Director of Capital Projects, Len Peters, Associate Director of Capital Projects, John Wooding, Professor of Political Science, Rupin Sembi, Project Manager, Rory O'Mahony, Director of Sustainability, and Tyle Arigio, Program Coordinator. Would you please come forward with your award? Vice Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The list is actually probably longer than that because it takes a big team to make something like this happen. But on behalf of Chancellor Jackie Maloney, we thank the City Council, the entire city, the Sustainability Committee for this recognition. Our interaction with the city is long, and we are proud to be able to contribute to the greening of the area. This is our second gold LEED facility, but our sustainability efforts go far beyond buildings. And whether it's transportation, whether it's stormwater, lots of things that we do together contribute to greening the Lowell area. It's also a great example for our students and the students of Lowell. It's great to see the next group that's going to be here. We like to practice what we preach and what we teach. So again, we thank you very much for the award, and we'll continue to make the place a little bit greener.
Thank you. Can we have a quick picture with the council? We'd like to have a quick picture with the council. Councilors. The next recipients was the Daily School. The Daily School Climate Change Club was awarded the 2017 Community Leadership Award. Accepting this award for the Daily School is teacher Marissa Shea. The Climate Change Club members are 7th grade students that are passionate about limiting the progression of climate change and were inspired to develop a program to install solar panels on their school and get their classroom on solar power. The club presented at the Lowell Sustainability Council Annual Summit in October and inspired many of the event's attendees with their ideas and commitment to our environment. To date, the group has created PowerPoint and video presentations to make their ideas set up a pedal-powered electric generator and raise money towards the future installation of the solar panels. A long-term goal is to get the full school on solar panel. And also, Principal Liam Skinner is here, who I know has personally led many of these efforts, and I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the students. Marissa, do you have something to say?
I actually don't have much to say, but the students have something to say, if that would be all right with
Sure.
everybody. All right, so come on up.
honored and thankful for this award considering how long we spent working together on this project and all the effort we put into it since April 2017. We would like to thank Ms. Shea for helping us throughout this journey and teaching us everything we now know about climate change. She taught us about more than just climate change.
She taught us about more important things like equality, friendship, and power. She taught us that we are more than just a couple of kids, but that we are also hardworking as anyone else out there. She taught us to be ourselves and treat each other like a big working family. We also want to thank everyone for always being supportive of our group.
Our climate change club started out small, then became bigger as the year had passed. We wouldn't have made it this far if it wasn't for Ms. Shea and the people who joined and worked with us. This club was created to help prevent climate change, but little did we know this club was just more than that. We did many fun activities together, like going to Folk Fest and presenting at the summit.
All these public activities has made us all more confident and comfortable with showing our ideas and progress to others out there that are interested in caring for our earth and preventing climate change. So we just want to thank everyone for giving us this award and being supportive.
We've been working very hard, hoping to bring awareness to our cause, and we're very thankful to be receiving the 2018 Sustainable Lowell Community Leadership Award. This award shows our effort we've been putting into this club, representing the Daly Middle School.
I know we've taken some extra time tonight, but it was well worth it. You are our future. We're so proud of you. One more picture up, if you'd like to come up with the City Council.
One, two, three. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I do need a motion to accept and place on file
So
by
moved.
Councilor Milonazo and seconded by Councilor Mercia. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I know we usually reserve announcements till the end of the meeting, but considering we do have members from the African community who put on the cultural night, figured we maybe want to announce the flag raising this Saturday.
Okay, do you have the, why don't you just please announce it? Can you-
Well, this Saturday from 11 to 1 o'clock, there is the African American flag raising right here at City Hall. So they asked me to mention it.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott. Okay, I need a motion to accept and place on file the minutes of the City Council meeting January 23rd for acceptance.
So moved.
Thank you. And seconded by Councilor Noon. Any discussion? Okay. None, thank you. All right, we're too early for public hearings. Next is communication from the city manager. All right, the first communication is deferred maintenance issues in all municipal buildings.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
if there's no objection, I'd like to move that, that this matter be referred to the Municipal Facilities Subcommittee.
a second?
A second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Vestner. Any discussion, though? Any further discussion? We can allow discussion, right? We can allow discussion.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Councilor Cirillo?
Thank you. I did have some questions, but since it was moved to subcommittee, I guess that they'll all be taken care of at subcommittee.
It's up to you. I mean,
I'm sorry?
it's up to you. If you want to ask some questions, it's okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. This was a great report. So thank you so much. I was hopeful that you could just review it so that the residents could know what this was regarding.
Thank you. So just to review some of the information in the motion response, we highlight the two ways, the main components in which the administration funds these matters. The first being in items under sort of $25,000 in value each. Would be funded mostly in the public works budget in two specific places, in the lands and buildings division, and then there's a couple of budgetary accounts in the DPW administrative budget. Specifically, the school projects account in the DPW administrative budget is where we track a lot of the spending for projects on DPW projects in the schools, the high school, and we use that to credit the city through the net school spending agreement. That's the account we use to track. However, for larger items, and those are over $25,000 in value, those are funded, and this is the major component in the capital budget. For example, most recently, the Lowell High School roof, was a $1.35 million authorization as part of a loan order that was authorized by the City Council. That and other larger projects, whether it be HVAC systems, building improvements that require large sums of money, and the useful life of the repair is longer than about 5 years. Those are targeted for the capital budget, both of which come during the springtime before the council for consideration. So those are the two major budgetary items in which the administration attempts to fund repairs to the buildings.
I'd like to add also, I think this should be a great opportunity before the subcommittee because the timing is ripe. We just received the draft report from the Collins Center relative to efficiencies in the Department of Public Works, and last week we scheduled our first public building committee. What it is, it's a collaboration of members of the city departments, such as Inspectional Services, DPW, Fire, and the school department, where we're going to tour each and every public building in the city, make a list of repairs, prioritize those repairs, and then come up with a preventive maintenance plan for each and every building based upon what's there. So I think it'd be a great time to give that presentation to the subcommittee.
Fantastic. Because I was wondering about the Collins Study Center, so thank you. I'm glad we received it, and we don't have to wait, which is fantastic. So thank you.
Councilor Elliott?
Thank you. I agree it's a good motion that was made, and I think the premise behind it is that we consistently are behind the 8 ball with maintenance issues, not only certainly in the schools that we have been dealing with, but this will put together, as you mentioned, a policy and guidance moving forward that there is a dollar figure for deferred maintenance, perhaps just for schools, and maybe even for for municipal buildings, because right now the way we do it is we have capital funds, certainly for large-scale projects, and we do spend a significant amount of money. It's increased from $99,000 up to this fiscal year, almost $200,000. So we are expending, but I think it needs to be more targeted, more focused. The Collins study will be very helpful. So I think it's a good motion. It's a good way for us to finally get our arms around exactly what we need to do in preventative maintenance and deferred maintenance that has brought us to the case where the high school needs significant attention. So I think I look forward to going to that subcommittee and getting that report. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none. Pedestrian crossing at School on Branch Street. Any discussion? Councilor Leahy?
Sure, through you to the manager.
I think we had asked before, is that intersection due to be rehabbed or redesigned anytime soon?
I don't know of any plans. Mr. Boston, out of School and Branch, no plans to redesign that intersection, is there? Correct?
Not at this time, sir, no.
Yep.
All right, I thought we had talked about that, because the telephone poles at one point blocked the lights. So any chance we can at least look at it and see if we can get National Grid to straighten up the poles? Because I thought it was on the list to be redesigned, but if you're coming down School towards the Stocklosa School, there's one point where that telephone pole blocks the light. So, and it's been like that for years, so.
Yes, we'll look into that, make sure that there's a cone of visibility that you can see what the lights are.
Yeah.
But right now, we don't have a major plan for that intersection at this point, but we can definitely look at it.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. National Grid trimming, tree trimming. Councilor Noon?
Mayor, through you to the manager, if you could give a synopsis of the report you provide the council. It's a good report, but the viewer at home probably need to know a little bit about the close working relationship between the Department of Public Works and the National Grid in addressing some of the issue, tree trimming that affecting the utility poles, wire and stuff like that. So please.
Thank you, Councilor, for asking that question, because that's going to allow Tom Bellegarde, after 41 years, this is his last city council meeting, and I'd like you to make the presentation here in your last council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. So we have a relationship with National Grid. We do trees, they do trees. If calls come in referring a particular tree, we'll go out and inspect it. If it falls within our domain, we address it accordingly. If it's a National Grid, if they own if it's their work, we refer it to them. We've always had a good relationship with them. When they're in there doing their work, we normally follow up to inspect what they're doing. I know there's been a few times in the past where National Grid was a little overzealous, so we really tightened up the noose in terms of just watching and observing what they do. So if a citizen calls up and wants to know on a particular tree, we'll follow the process of assuming that it's ours until we find out that it's not, and then take the corrective measures.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your many, many years of wonderful service to the city.
Thank you, Councilor.
Councilor Mercian?
Thank you.
Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I should have realized it, but I didn't. I'm so sad to see you leave because you have been the hardest worker I've ever seen. Not that our city employees don't work hard. They certainly do. I know you do, Mr. Manager. Don't gulp at this, but we've been together for so long, all these years. You did such a great job and went above and beyond to the point where I know firsthand all the things that he's done above and beyond, like having a subcommittee meeting, and you knew about it, and you were in Florida, and you came home to attend that meeting. Who would do that? Nobody would do that. You don't want accolades. I know you're more embarrassed than anything else, but I want to embarrass you because you deserve all the credit that I could possibly give to you. I'm so sad to see you go, although Debbie will be thrilled to have you. She'll get to know you again. I've seen you working on Sunday when you shouldn't have been in parks and picking up this and doing that. It's like the whole city of Lowell was your backyard, and you did tremendous work. 32 parks when we began turned into 92 today. It's amazing, all the work, the dedications that we've been through, and we didn't know that what would happen, and you made everything complete. And we all took the credit for it, too. So thank you very much for everything that you have done for the city. You put your heart and soul in it, and I wanted you to know that I personally cared so much for all your hard work. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott? Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I guess it just kind of crept up on us. This is your last meeting, but 41 years is a long time, Mr. Bellegarde, and your institutional knowledge, and I think Councilor Mercier said it best. Certainly, it was 24/7. We had the big projects, but as someone who has been involved in youth sports for for close to 25 years, I see what you do behind the scenes. I see how you make things work when we're in a crunch, and your heart and soul is into everything you do, every league, every sport. You treat them fairly, and I've been here long enough when resources are real tight and things are cut out of your budget, and you still make it work with you and your staff. So I'm very grateful for all that you did, certainly publicly, but also what you did behind the scenes, which what people should know. So and I know sometimes you had to give of your own money. So thank you for all you do. I know you're not going anywhere. We're still going to need you for lots of things that are going on, and your expertise. So for 41 years of dedicated service from a grateful person, I want to thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tom Bellegarde, I've known you for a number of years, and certainly called on you to help out in the parks, especially after a difficult winter and getting some of the sports ready. And you've always been there for it. And again, the many years that I was on the school committee, you'd take telephone calls and it would be taken care of. So also, I just want to say that anybody that mentions your name, there are certain things that go along with it, and one of them is someone that's a problem solver, gets the job done, no excuses, just figures out how to do it, and I think most important, a real gentleman. So again, I congratulate you on your 41 years, and we wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Councilor.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Leahy.
Well, I just want to join in with everybody else and wish you all the best going forward. I think that anybody that serves on the city council appreciates how important the position of your position is to all of us for little things that you do along the way. And also, I'd like to thank you for the sign. So best of luck.
Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I just want to say congratulations and thank you, too. A few years ago, somebody had called us about the park by the Pine School, and geez, before I know it, Tom had the whole thing done, all the benches, the fireplaces, the tables, everything. So that's just one of the small things you do. Once we mention it, you're right on top of it. So we're going to miss that, but congratulations and enjoy the time with your family.
Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you. A lot of people don't know, but that Tom Bellegarde and I actually started with the city around the same time. I was 1978 and you in 1977, I believe. And over the years that we've crossed paths in various capacities, I've always been impressed with his work ethic, with your integrity, with your follow-through, and with your ability to work with a variety of groups, be them the Parks Department, the various leagues that you had worked with Councilor Mercier on, the veterans organizations. You've gone above and beyond working with our veterans organizations and the Veterans Memorial. So I too want to wish you and your family well as you head into retirement. You're going to be very hard to replace. Thank you, Tom, for everything.
Thank you, Councilor. I was in kindergarten at that time, but that's okay. Mr. Bellegarde, just before you go off, I'd also like to say, as the former headmaster of Lowell High School, how many times did I ask you to come before us? We had a project, and the one thing Tom would say, there's no money in the budget for this. But a week later, the project was done completely. But there's a term in the military, when you making awards, it'll be said the person was an officer and a gentleman. In our Army, in the Army of the City of Lowell, to our workforce, you truly were and are an officer and a gentleman. So we thank you for all of that You epitomize the best in everything. I wish you the best.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank all of you. That was very much appreciated. But it goes both ways. We've been a good team all these years. Councils, past and present. We had a lot of good things done, as Councilor Mercy indicated. We tripled the size of the city's park system together. We provided quality recreation opportunities everywhere. One of the things that the newspaper quoted me on was, and I believe a real good, proud accomplishment was getting several thousand teenage youth off the street, getting them to work, giving them a purpose. And then the spin around was they were able to train and work with tens of thousands of our citizens. I mean, what's better than that? One of the stories, and I'll be very brief on this, but that doesn't get a lot of fanfare, but I think is also equally important. When I first got here about 30 years ago as your Parks Commissioner, I found out to my surprise that we're surrounded by lakes and surrounded by water, and the large part of the population didn't know how to swim, not a stroke, not to save their life. So we went on this crusade to where we were going to make sure that we're going to provide swim lessons to those who want it, affordable swim lessons, and free is as affordable as you're going to get. And for 30 years now, we probably trained thousands of people. We have a network of canals throughout our system, our city. We have 2 major rivers, and as I indicated, we have lakes. And we had, to my knowledge, we played a role in no fatalities. We actually, I don't know how many we prevented, but even if we prevented one, it was money well spent. So again, the partnership and the coordination between the council and my office, you've always been respectful of me. You've always supported all the things that we asked for. The good times and in bad times, we were able to hang through it and get through it together. The city managers, the 8 city managers that retained my services all the years as an ad-will employee, which I think is an accomplishment unto itself. I'd be amiss if I didn't mention in 1987, City Manager Jim Campbell took the Parks Division out of Public Works, the Recreation Department, combined it with the Cemetery Department and the downtown operations, and gave me the honor of becoming the Commissioner of Parks, Recreation, and Cemeteries. And I think that kind of started me on this road. And in July of 2016, Manager Murphy gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. He combined all the departments back into one major operation, and he appointed me as his Commissioner of Public Works, and he also deputized me as his Assistant City Manager, giving me direct access to his office and to the manager directly. You know, all these things that happen in the city of Lowell, I get people, colleagues, and I get vendors that say, how do you guys do what you do? I mean, buildings are going up, and streets are being paved, and parks are being built, and well, we have a great delivery system. We have an aggressive administration. We have a proactive city council. We have our friends in Boston that are constantly working to bring the money in. And it doesn't hurt to have a city manager that was one of them in leadership role, knows where the money is in the State House, served in the general court. And at the end of the day, when people are looking at us, and rightfully so, we're a city on the move. And we've left a lot of cities and towns behind. I'm not so sure how retirement's going to be. You know, I take it with it's mixed emotions, but I must say that at the end of the day, my wife has hung in with me all these years. It's not easy, and as you folks know, when you're on call and you're appointed or elected, the calls never stop. And when you go on vacation, the calls follow you on vacation. So it's something that's going to be different. I'm not moving out of the city, so I'm still going to be around. I may even show up at a public hearing or 2, you never know, as a private citizen. But I just want to thank each and every one of you, and again, the councilors past and present, and the administrations, and Kevin. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with you, under you, and you give me the opportunity of a lifetime. You've been a good friend, and you supported, and thank you for that. Mayor, thank you.
Mr. Mr. Manager?
City Council.
Just to show you how dedicated his employee, we haven't been able to find somebody suitable enough to take his position. So beginning February 5th, we need an interim Commissioner of Public Works, and Tom Belgard has volunteered to be the interim commissioner. So he'll be here a little while longer.
We knew you weren't going too far.
So having said that, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Manager, can I give him the list of the 4 things I'd like him to do before Friday? Get those done by Friday.
All right, thank you. Next is 311 app. Any discussion? Councilor Elliott, do you want to talk on that, or the 311?
No, I just wanted a manager to fix the clock in here.
We talked about that at the beginning of the meeting. All right, no discussion. Western Avenue Studio Tax Assessment. Council Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Manager, for the report. If it's okay with the chairman of the Finance Subcommittee, I'd like to move that we send this report to the Finance Subcommittee for further review and discussion.
Second. Second, by Mr. Kennedy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Kennedy, thank you. All right, Stedman Street sidewalk. Any discussion? Traffic signal at intersection of Mammoth Road and 4th Avenue. East End Club handicap parking. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I understand that that issue is on the agenda tonight under the ordinance's 60-day trials. Does it have to say how many, or does it include all those? I don't want to, because of a technicality, we have to come back on this issue. Because they're going to put 3, I think. I asked
Yes.
for 2, but they're going to put
So,
3.
so we went out and we talked to the, I'm sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council. So we went out and talked to the good people at the East End Club, and they requested 3 handicap parking spaces. So the way the 60-day trials are written is it's a distance. So we leave 20 feet per space. So we if you look at the
I have it yet.
so 79 feet. That's technically 3 parking spaces, which is 60 feet, and then 19 in between to kind of make way for the ramp.
So the 3 of them will be there. This vote tonight will be for 3 of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Since we're into this question here, some time ago I made a motion about South Street in front of one of the
Yes, ma'am.
Bishop Markham.
Yes, ma'am.
And I said if we could move the elderly drop-off back and replace it with a handicap parking spot. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember.
Did we ever do anything with that?
I feel like we did, but I'll double check. I remember exactly what you're talking about.
Because I haven't seen it on a vote for a 60-day trial or anything.
Okay, I'll go back and check my files.
So I don't want to have it eliminated because of a technicality, that's all. Okay, thank you so much. That's all right.
Brother?
Yeah.
Councilor Leahy.
While we're on the subject, I just want to mention to the manager and the engineer that the new parking situation at the Association for the Blind, they're very happy with the new setup, so hopefully it works out. Thank you.
Okay, fine. All right, next is stop sign intersection of Havilah and Remington Streets. Any issue? Discussion? Okay. 4th Street, any? Councilor Leahy?
Just while we're on this, could we just get an update? We were supposed to be trying to take care of so many streets per year to get them accepted. Could we just get an update on where we are on that, and can we get back on track? I think that was Councilor Mercier's motion, so was it like 3 or 6 streets a year or something?
Yeah, that's, because
So if we could,
takes a lot of work.
So if we could keep that, get that back on track. Thank you.
Okay. School Street and Laurel Street traffic signage. Report of abandoned homes in the city. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a motion from last week, and it's good information on it, but Mr. Manager, I literally wanted to find out exactly how many abandoned homes we have, and that's not included in this report, and I just wanted to make sure my motion wasn't about a SWAT team, although I think that's good. I checked, and my motion was to have the city manager provide a report on all the number of abandoned buildings in the city.
Yeah, this was a response to a past motion.
Right.
But the one relative to the abandoned homes, we are going to respond to
Okay.
next week. We've had to go through.
I do recall something to initiate that process.
Yeah.
Have we done that? Are we in the process of trying to use that, that initiative, the SWAT technique, to addressing some of the homes?
Yes, we did. We actually did that in Centerville.
Okay.
And that's what resulted in the 18 properties being recognized that the Attorney General is going to put
I
into the receivership program. So that was a good example of that, that program. As far as abandoned homes, they're compiling that list, and we should have a report in the very near future.
Okay, good. Good. No, it's good to know that that the SWAT technique, which is for the people at home, where we get department heads from the fire and the police and the building and go into a neighborhood or certainly at least one home and, address it from many angles to either, to get it back in good condition. So.
Yeah, we have a team, the police, fire, inspectional services, the building department, our department, and we go and we meet with the neighbors because we walk right up the streets, and they come out and express their concerns to us, and then we identified in this particular day, we identified those 18 buildings to give to the Attorney General for the receivership program. So it's a great tool.
And Beach Street was an example of that, correct?
Right.
We had a problem with, they weren't homeowners, they were renters, and we went in and did a, full-blown investigation of the problems at the property. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. I know I'm going back some years, but in 2015, Councilor Leahy made a motion about fire damaged properties, and we got a detailed report about 65 properties that were fire damaged to one degree or another. And included in this beautifully compiled list, it was from Eric Slagle, and it included the address of each property, the current owner of the property, the address of the property address if it's different than the house that we're talking about, the date of the fire, the description of the property, and the date of any pulled permits. So it's a detailed report. If Eric could go back and look at how he did this and upgrade it to today to see what we could do, because it's just magnificent, and I have a sick habit of saving things, so I just wanted you to know that would like to see an update similar to this. Thank you.
All set. Okay, now.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I just ask one question? Can you explain, Mr. Manager, why in this day and age where the housing market is reaching a peak, why do property owners, i.e. banks in large part, right? Why aren't they moving on them? Is it the receivership issue that you spoke of, or?
Well, when I was practicing law, we always said banks aren't in the real estate business. And they just really, they don't want these properties. And I don't know, Counselor, maybe you can enlighten me, but they just don't seem to know what to do with them once they get them. And that's why the only thing we could do to move them along was to up the registration fee for the foreclosed property registration in hopes to try and spur them to quicker. But it's an enigma, and why they don't do anything. But like I say, they're not in the real estate business, and they just don't move once they get them.
So at some level, is it, and we don't want to get in the housing, taking over these buildings, properties either. I get it, but how can we have them move? Is there some auction process that we can initiate? I guess we'd have to take it and then auction it, and we don't want to do that. So that's why this initiative hopefully will be instrumental.
The interesting thing is they pay the taxes on the properties.
Oh, they do, right?
Yeah, so we can't even take them for non-payment of taxes. So that's why we upped that registration fee as some.
How much is it now?
How much is it, 1,000 to register, Mr. Slagle?
It's $1,000 plus $1,000 for each year they're in the program. So if the property has been vacant, foreclosed, registered for 3 years, that's a $3,000 fee. The idea would be, obviously, that, as the manager says.
Is that just a drop in a bucket? They don't care, they just can't be bothered with it? In the meantime, we're stuck with these abandoned homes?
Well, we thought it was a significant amount of money, but it's amazing when they finally do sell one of these foreclosed properties, the lien we have is just automatically paid out of the closing, and it's like, no questions asked. It's crazy.
So should we consider doubling it or tripling it? I mean, if they're just gonna let it sit there and, you know, we're at the point where we're expending resources with our law department to move these things, and there's a lot of them.
It has, so we have only had the increased fee for a relatively short period of time. The council voted on it at the end of last winter, and so it really hasn't. There are some properties that haven't even come up for a re-registration and had to pay the fee. So I do think there's still.
Why don't we take a look at let's look at the other municipalities in the Commonwealth and what they charge for these fees. Maybe they have a higher fee that spurs them to move on. We'll look at the other municipalities.
Yep, money talks, and if it hurts their pocketbook, maybe that's gonna be the case. But thank you for answering that question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, update on 29 Frothingham Street. Council Leahy.
Thank you. Through you, the manager, I just had a couple of questions. Is that still listed as a 3-family, or is it back to a 2-family, would we know?
It's at a 2-family, and it's being operated as a 2-family, and the inspectional services has been monitoring it to make sure that it is a 2-family.
Okay. I mean, it still has like 7 or 8 cars out there a night, and I know that they've been taking a look at it, and we'll continue to watch it. It just seems like still a lot of activity going on there. I mean, I'm in the neighborhood, so it's not like I'm going out of my way to see it. So we'll continue to watch that, but it just seems like there's still the same amount of cars there, and but I'm glad at least it got listed back down to a 2-family. All right, and then I saw that you took action to make sure that the inspections and rating and all that gets updated quicker. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sorry.
If I could, through you to the city manager, the report from Mr. Slagle does indicate that it's now being assessed as a 3-family. So it either is a 2 or 3.
Well, it was being assessed as a 3-family. That was what triggered that
led it
the
to
last evaluation of the assessor's office.
Okay, so right now
but
it's-
it has been changed to a 2-family.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? No, thank you. On plans to revitalize the business corridors, Mr. Manager, could you talk about the High Street and Mammoth Road as to what's happening there?
So in the past few years, what we've been able to do is to use CDBG funds to improve Couple Square, and also just when I first came here, not only Couple Square but Bridge Street, we've done a terrific job. And just as I was taking over as city manager, we were finishing up High Street. We have a lot of road work that's going to be starting in the springtime, the widening of Thorndike, the F&G streets, and Signature Bridge in the Hamilton Canal District. So a lot of our money is going to that infrastructure. But we're not putting these neighborhood corridors on the back burner. What we're doing is we're trying to identify some CDBG money that we can use to improve a new neighborhood corridor. And according to the report, we've been looking at like Mammoth Road as a possible opportunity, down on around Aiken Street as a possibility, and Gorham Street just past the Spaghettiville Bridge as a possibility. So we are looking to try and recognize some CDBG funds and continue this project in the near future.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Thank you. All right, information, inactive voter list. Councilor Noon.
Mr. Mayor, great report. I was wondering if we can refer to the elections law subcommittee, the report.
Any second?
Second.
Councilor Milazzo. Okay, no further discussion. All right, I need a motion to accept and place on file
So moved.
by Councilor Conway and seconded by Councilor Kennedy. Thank you. We'll now go back to the public hearing. All right, orders the abandoned portion of Newell Street, second reading.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor?
Do we have an election subcommittee? Because I didn't know if we had one.
We have the original one set up to deal with the new, reviewing whether we're going to change our formats.
We have a rules subcommittee, but I don't see an election subcommittee.
It was the ad hoc subcommittee.
Oh, we have an ad hoc, election ad hoc subcommittee?
Yes. I just kept it at that level. But it can be subject for discussion if we want to make it a permanent subcommittee at this point. All right, to vacate, discontinue, and abandon certain public interests and rights in a portion of Newell Street in the city of Lowell. Reopen the hearing, continued from January 9th. Those in favor? Yes.
Since the last council meeting where we had the opportunity to speak about the potential abandonment of Newell Street, I've had the opportunity to speak with both Mr. Dowling and Mr. and Mrs. Tucker, his neighbors at 38 Newell Street. And during those meetings, Mr. and Mrs. Tucker were able to relay to me a number of really important concerns, which I have worked to address with Mr. Dowling and various city departments. The first concern, which I think we all talked about here, was related to Mr. Dowling's proposal to install a gate at the end of Newell Street, so where the paved portion of Newell Street meets the unpaved portion. Mr. and Mrs. Tucker's concerns were regarding the potential for Mr. Dowling to utilize this gate on a more regular basis for his construction equipment, which he intends to park on the abandoned portion of Newell Street. After my conversation with Mr. Dowling, he's agreed to remove the gate from his fenced-in area, so that's no longer going to be installed. The second concern that was brought up was regarding a fire hydrant that's located at the edge of the paved portion of Newell Street just before it becomes unpaved. They were concerned that the fence would actually encompass that fire hydrant and that it would be difficult for emergency services to access it. After a conversation with Mr. Dowling, he has agreed, not to install his fence beyond the fire hydrant. He's going to set it back approximately 5 to 6 feet away from the fire hydrant in order to accommodate that. The third issue that Mr. and Mrs. Tucker were very concerned about is the sewer line. There's a sewer line that runs down the center of Newell Street and extends into the unpaved portion of Newell Street, as well as ending with a clean out that has a manhole cover in that area. And to address that issue, I had to reach out to Mark Young from the Lowell Regional Wastewater Utility to get an understanding of what any grading on Mr. Dowling's lot, once the street is abandoned, what impacts that would have to the sewer line, as well as if there was a fence installed that actually encompassed that sewer clean out, what would the repercussions be for that? And Mark Young explained to me that he is not concerned with respect to the grading on his lot. There are unlikely to be any concerns regarding the sewer line there. As well, when we abandon this portion of Newell Street, the city will hold easements over the sewer line. It's going to be approximately 20 feet wide for the length of the sewer line on Newell Street. And Mark feels that's sufficient to address any emergencies or maintenance that's required for the sewer line. And the final concern is related to snow plowing, which I know is a hot topic this time of year. Right now, the way that the street is configured, it allows the city to plow the snow onto this extended unpaved portion of Newell Street. There's a lot of snow storage there. If Mr. Dowling installs a fence, that will block off partially the available snow storage that is down there. So only half of the street, 20 feet wide, will be abandoned. So we will still have another 20 feet to work with. But additionally, I also spoke with Tom Bellegarde, the DPW commissioner who you saw tonight, and Steve Benoit from DPW as well. And they agreed that it does pose some issue, but that we do have many other dead-end streets in Lowell that they do pave that do not have snow storage available, and that they will just have to make a note and alter the way that they plow this area going forward and make sure that they don't block any driveways on Newell Street. And aside from all of this, in addition to this, John Dowling has agreed to provide screening along his fence line in order to block the view of the construction equipment. And in the end, when he does decide to move forward with his development of the area, he will have to check in with Development Services to ensure that the work that he's doing will meet all of the zoning codes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in favor? In favor?
Yes, my name's John Dowling, 75 Dunbar Avenue, Lowell, Mass. And as far as the snow service goes, I will not be using the fence here in the area. It doesn't matter if they plow the snow right up to the fence and everything. So the snow is not a problem with me anyway. And I think Sarah described everything else very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor? In favor? The hearing's closed. Those in opposition?
Hello, my name's Henry Tucker. I live at 38 Newell Street.
I'm Liz Tucker. I live at 38 Newell Street, and we have an issue with the snow, especially after the last one. We went to the effort of giving all the counselors, plus Mr. Manager and the
I have
mayor,
handouts if you
of
will accept them.
handouts, and one for Mr. Dowling as well, is what we've been putting up with for the last 30-plus years of living at the end of Newell Street. Originally, it was not taken care of, and we've always taken care of the last since 1987. So the last 20 or 30 feet into Newell Street, we've always taken care of it. Part of the huge issue we have is when the plows come down, and it's no offense to the plow guys that do come down, because myself, I have to plow, we run out of space real quick because it is a dead end. We have had, when they put the new sewer line in 2010, we asked the city to put in boulders to prevent, people coming down Newell Street inadvertently. What you see is on the GPS people, the cars still come down thinking it's a full street. So we asked to have the boulders put there. And it also keeps the young people from using their motorcycles up and down the street. But we can go over the packet that we did for everybody here.
The first page is the GIS picture of the neighborhood, where you'll see it says P5 in the middle. That's for page 5. That's right. That's where he used to. That's where he stores his vehicles in the summertime. Behind that is my property. I have no issue with him storing the stuff there. If you go to the next page, that's my daughter Jennifer standing at the end of the street after one snowstorm.
That was 2013. That was just
No.
one snowstorm.
Everything is dated with the pictures, and you can see where she is standing is right at the end, right at the beginning, right at the end of my property line. Now, if you go to the next page, which is page 1, you'll see it. It's in green, white, and black. That white line is approximately the center of Newell Street, 20 feet. The green circle is the sewer, the new sewer line they put in. Now, from the property line to the left where the telephone pole is, that black line, that's where the granite markers are. In fact, I'm the only property on the street that has 2 granite markers, one at the beginning and one at the end of my property, so it's very easy to figure out. You go from that fence, which is John's, to the center, that's 20 feet. Now, from the white line, going backwards that way, you'll see it's 17 feet. That's all we're asking for. 17 feet is in front of the sewer. That'll give us more than enough snow storage for both sides. Because if you go back to that picture, that's one snowstorm. In 2015, when we had 10.5 feet, my driveway is 36 feet wide. I only had 20 feet wide of it because there was no place to put the snow. And the city did what they could do with it, but you can only pile it so much, and they don't take it away. I've asked them. They won't do it. If you go to page 2, that'll show the 17 feet again from the boundary markers to the beginning of the sewer, and Sarah said he wants to do from the boundary markers, from the granite boundary markers, in 5 feet. That's 5 feet. That's right to the support that's holding up the telephone pole that's stopping them all from going south. Now, even if he went back 6 feet, we're talking about putting Jersey barriers in instead of the boulders, because the boulders are the size of Volkswagens. Put a Jersey barrier and you're only 2 feet. Now, the storage space is still getting short. I'm still getting killed on that. If you go to the next page, page 3, you'll see from that boundary line, that one in the middle, it says 20 feet. That's to the back of the sewer. I'm not looking for 20 feet. I'm looking for 17. The width of the street. You'll see the gate on the left-hand side. That's the gate that all the kids and elderly use from the complex across the street from us. On page 4, you'll see approximate center line of street. I eyed it going down because most center lines are in the middle of the street. It's easy to figure it out. That's what that white line is. You go to page 5, which is marked on the GIS thing. That's the area where he's been storing all of his heavy equipment. I have no problem with that. No problem at all. I get along with all of his neighbors. We all say hi, we all talk to each other. They're very nice to my kids. Page 6 is a aerial view. I went up on my roof to take some pictures so you can see the back after the boulders. It is all shrubs. And we keep it shrubs because it keeps the children and the motorcycles and the dirt bikes from the projects coming all the way up to go through the street. And actually, I talked to Mr. Belguide years ago. On the left and right, you'll see 2 concrete blocks. He put those in to prevent the motorcycles from screaming up the street and screaming down the street. So you can see it is all shrub down there. And he wants to have from 5 feet back, it kills us snow-wise. You can see they have plenty of vehicles in there. The next page is number 7. You'll see the gate again where the children and the elderly and everyone come in and out of that. If you go back to the original picture where my daughter is, you can see the gate is completely blocked over with snow. I shovel it out. I move it so they can come in and out because I don't want the kids and the elderly climbing over the fence. Page 8 is my driveway leading to the end of it. That black mark over there by my daughter's car is the boundary, the granite mark. So you can see I have 4 feet right there between the black mark and the outside of that chain link fence. That's where my snow storage is for my driveway. None of the snow from my driveway goes on city property. It stays on my property. Not like my neighbors who throw it out in the street and it all comes down to me, unfortunately. The next picture, page 9, in talking to Sarah today, she said she had talked to the DPW and they were going to put me on a list to plow. They were going to back down the street and plow up the street. My street is 435 feet long to the boundary lines. Now, I don't plow, my wife does. She can tell you how that would work.
Well, logistically, if they're using the big 6-wheel dump, the big 6-wheel dumps, I measured one at work today, they're 30 feet long from the end of the tail bed to the plow frame. So he'd have to back that extra 13 feet to go toward even the stones before he'd even hit pavement with the plow blade. If not, he'd be halfway into our driveway just to plow it.
Leaving the snow there. And plowing all that, and I realize that there are dead-end streets that they plow on, but plowing up the street, 435 feet, is going to push the snow to my neighbors, which is always contention on the storms.
But it also is going out into...
It's going out into Chelmsford Street, which is Route 110, the state plows. I'm pretty sure the state's not going to like that happening, even if they try to remove it. Page 10 is another aerial view showing all the rocks, the 2 chunks of concrete Mr. Belgrade put in, and the brush down there, and John's building, and a portion of my driveway. I walked down to the end of the paper street today. I haven't been down there in years, and this is the back end of John's building. There's a chain link fence there. That's the end of his property. I measured it from the outside. I stayed on the street. I didn't go on his property. I got 17 feet wide. I took an approximation on his building being 120 feet long because my property is 100 feet deep and his building protrudes a little bit further towards Dawn Street that way. So that's where I got that. That's 2,040 square feet, extra feet he's going to have for doing the street. Now, on the next page, you'll see on page 12, that's what the brush looks like. That's what it looks like today. In the summertime, it's nice and green, it grows high, it keeps all the undesirable children from coming through the projects up into our street and doing the Lowell stroll. I call it the Lowell stroll because what they will do, they will walk up the street and they'll look in the vehicles as they're going up. They'll go to the store, they'll come down the other side, and they'll look in the vehicles in the yard when they're coming down. And then they go into the woods. That we can't stop. But in front of those boulders, I trim all that, I cut the grass, I take care of the trees on the side that I can handle, I get rid of it at my cost. I don't charge the city, I don't have anything to do with it. But with John, according to this, according to the documents I got from city, it's 135 feet long, and he wants to go out 20 feet. I'm looking for 17 feet, which would leave him 118 feet long, plus it'd have 120 to 130 feet that way behind his building, 17 feet wide. That'll give him a total area of 4,400 square feet of storage. And that leaves us with just 17 feet by 20 feet, the width of the street, to have snow storage. And granted, we only get snow in the wintertime, but when we get it, it comes down heavy, and that's where they put it all. And all of those dimensions and measurements, I got from city engineering. So those are all your measurements. None of them are mine. When it came to, I realized the city of Lowell is a big city, and plowing is a pain because a lot of people keep their vehicles on the street. First storm of the year, my street was missed. I drove around the neighborhood. Every street was done. I called up, it was done a couple hours later. Second storm, they plowed halfway down the street. Called up, they sent 2 trucks out. Within 15 minutes, they fixed it. The 2 ice storms we had, when they come down with the sander, they backed down. The first time they drove down, second time they backed down, but they stopped 1 house before my house. I'm the last house on the street. It's a slight incline. So with all the snow storage here and all the water coming down, it freezes at night, and in front of my house is a glacier. Trying to get in and out of the driveway isn't fun onto the street, plus all the UPS trucks and everyone comes down and turns around. All of our vehicles have been hit. The telephone pole has been hit. I've already changed my fence once. The trees across the street have been hit. They all have marks from UPS and everybody else. So if he wants to do, I'm willing to deal with him if he's willing to do this. If he wants to keep the fence back 17 feet, put Jersey barriers in front of his section of the fence, not those huge boulders, keep those boulders on the other side, fine, we can shake hands on it tonight. But if he only wants to give me 5 feet or 6 feet, I'm going to fight him. Because we have no place to put the snow. And everybody knows in this city, snow is a giant problem. So I kind of am in for it, but I'm kind of against it. So I'm trying to go with him halfway.
Thank you. Yes.
If you go back to page 7, the hydrant, the street is 40 feet wide. The hydrant's probably 5 or 6 feet in from the fence. We're talking 15 feet at the most, where my area is going to start with the fence line. You can't plow snow in front of the hydrant. The city can't plow snow in front of the hydrants. We're not talking like what he's talking about. He's exaggerating way too much, I believe. The snow can be pushed to the right with no problem at all. There's 7 houses on the street. You know, he's got a 30-foot driveway, and everything I've done here, and I don't have a problem with you, Mr. Tucker, but you opposed me. You opposed me from day one. You know, I wanted to put condos there. I was going to do a good job. You opposed that. I turned around, I wanted to do it from Doan Street. You opposed that. Everything I do, you opposed. You're the only neighbor on the street that opposes me.
No,
Excuse me, for discussion, would you look at us sending you to the city manager, have the city manager sit in with this discussion and his team and see if something could be worked out? Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I just ask one question? Is this all about snow? Is that it? Your only objection is snow?
It's snow storage, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
What he parks there, as long as whatever he parks there does not interfere with the new sewer line, because before they put the sewer line in, my house insurance was canceled twice because of sewage backup.
I understand those issues.
Was not fun.
Councilor Leahy, then the city manager.
So to the manager, when he has his page 7 out, when you abandon a street, you basically split the street up, right, equally? All right. Can't we just extend the street down to the boulders and then give up that portion back there? I mean, right, there's gotta be a line where you start and stop, right, to abandon it, because that's what we're doing. I mean, I've plowed streets like this for the city in the past, and I know how fast it builds up. And I know, you got the hydrant there, you got the sewer line, and we always say it's unlikely that there'll be a problem, but there'll be a problem. So why don't we just keep our interests, I mean, it seems like common sense, keep our interest up to the boulders, and then if we abandon the rest of it, there's no issue. So that would be my suggestion.
17 feet is all I'm looking for. 340 square feet from that abandonment is all I want, 340, and he's getting 4,000 something to do all his storage. I don't care what he puts back there.
And I'm paying the taxes on it, too.
Mr.
I'll
Manager?
pay the taxes on the 340.
Okay, okay.
One more thing,
No,
please.
let's,
Can I have one
Mike,
more thing?
one at a time.
I'll agree to put the fence
Excuse me.
10 feet back.
Excuse me, just let the city manager then ask, Mr. Manager?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a visit with Mr. Benoit of the Department of Public Works relative to snow removal is in order. So, I mean, I can have Mr. Benoit meet with all of us and alleviate their fears about snow removal, and that should answer the question, because he does a great job, and hopefully that will, since it's all about snow removal, he should be able to resolve the issue relative to that.
Councilor Leahy?
Just want to make, I mean, I know you understand, I just want to make one point to everybody that, the street is so long, so you're not pushing 20 feet of snow, you're pushing 400. Yeah, so there's a lot of snow that gets stored up, and if it's not, as we all know, if you don't push it back far enough the first storm, then you can't go any further, and it builds up and builds up and builds up. We've had a strange year this year where we've had snow and it melts, but it's not always like that.
Ms. Leahy, what you're saying is that they need to review what?
I think Mr. Benoit can come up with a plan that will help all of.
It'd be beautiful.
Matt,
Yes.
and for the comment, I'm the only one fighting him. When he tried to put the condos in, the entire neighborhood went after him. When he tried to go from Dawn Street to Newell Street, the entire neighborhood went after him. I'm the only one on the street going after, disagreeing with you on this. I'm the only one, because I'm the only abutter.
I don't want to argue with you.
Okay?
Okay.
I'm the only one who's arguing with that. 17 feet, 340 square feet is all we're asking for. That's nothing.
I'm thinking, though, you need the city manager and his people to sit down with you. I think that could possibly help.
Can
And
we
this-
meet down there? I have it all marked out in green paint, green and white paint.
I'm sure he'll accommodate your needs. Councilor Kennedy?
Are we going to close the hearing?
Just getting ready to do that. Is there anyone else in opposition? Anyone else in opposition? All right, we'll close this hearing. We're still allowed to have discussion at this. Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, if the only issue here, remaining issue, is snow removal, and you think Mr. Benoit can come up with a solution to that, I mean, we do have streets like this street where rather than to plow the snow, we pull the snow out, right, with front-end loaders or whatever, and we have streets like that elsewhere in the city, and this may become one of those streets. And if it did, that probably would make everybody on the street a little happier than maybe with the current way that the snow is removed on that street. Can you comment on that? Or?
We remove snow all the time from streets. After they're plowed, we go out and start removing the banks, the large banks at intersections all the time. So I'm sure we can talk to Mr. Benoit and make this a priority to remove the snow at the end so that the neighbors are taken care of as far as snow removal.
Councilor Leahy?
Sure, I mean, I don't want to start adding costs where we don't have to either. If we have a storage area, let's just push the snow into it instead of sending front-end loaders down.
Right, I'm just saying, though, if it gets
No,
filled
I know,
up,
but
then
I'm
we
just saying,
can
we
make
can
sure
make
it's removed.
space for ourselves, so.
I mean, I visited it myself, so I know what it looks like down there. I think if it's referred to me, we can resolve it.
Okay, thank you.
So
Council Mercy?
I make a motion that we refer this back to the city manager to resolve it. I like everybody to be happy.
Second by Council Kennedy, Council Conway. I'd like to have the clerks.
Counsel, just in terms of this is kind of a different animal a little bit, so it's got to get referred to my office as well. Seeing the public hearing is closed, simultaneously, if you refer it to my office as well, so we can skip that procedure on the next meeting, we can go right to a
That's
vote
right.
as you refer it to the
Sure.
manager.
Let's do that.
Okay. Are you satisfied with this direction at this point?
To be honest with you, I've called several times to have a front-end loader come down and remove the snow in the past. They said if we do it for you, we have to do it for all the dead-end streets.
Well,
I rented Bobcats
the issue is, the city manager will be there to discuss. That will be discussed.
The city manager wants to, and everyone wants to come up, we can have a party. I'll have it all marked out, I'll show you, I'll take a tape measure, I'll have a laser there if you want, I'll measure everything out for you, show you everything.
Well, rather than a party, I'd rather have the issue dealt with.
No, I mean, you
And
know
that's-
just what I mean, just the people who
Okay,
are gonna make the decision.
Mr. Mayor,
Council Elliott?
motion to refer this to both the city manager and the city clerk, report back in 1 week.
Okay. Actually, the motion is to, I need a motion to refer to the clerk's office for 7 days. And the manager at this point. Motion by
Seconded.
Council Leahy and seconded by Council Cirillo. Okay? Thank you.
No, one last question, what happens next? When do we hear from someone?
You'll be hear from this. You'll hear from the city manager.
Okay, thank you. You can throw those away.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
you know, I've never seen anything like this where people put so much work. You know, there's a lot of work that has been done here. I commend the Tucker.
Also, I took a day out of work, so I lost a day's pay, plus $100 worth of ink from Staples to print up all of this.
And you did a swell job. I
But
wanted
Council,
to say that.
Council Mercy, you're correct, but we're giving it to the city manager at his level at this point to bring the people together to see if this can be taken care of. I do believe it's doable. Council Leahy, talked about, his approaches, what have you, so this is not something that can't be done. It should be done. So I think you'll be satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, where are we? Okay, votes from the city manager. Appropriate $752,000 of Water Enterprise Fund certified retained earnings. Waive the first full reading, the second reading by title, that the amount of $752,000 be appropriated from the July 1, 2017 certified retaining earnings, Water Enterprise Fund, to various accounts. I need a motion to adopt.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Council Kennedy, second by Council Milonazo. Roll call?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
could we have Mr. Young explain this transfer out of retained earnings, what it's for?
sure. I'm sorry. You wanted
Is
to
he
say-
here?
Maybe better if Mr. Baldwin
Mr.
responds.
Baldwin?
Not that you don't, but he prepared the report.
So this is money that goes into the enterprise fund, separate from the tax rate, so this is coming from the users.
That's correct. This retained earnings are in the enterprise fund, like what free cash is in the general fund. The money that goes into the enterprise is from the fees, so it has no tax impact whatsoever. Over the years, the water fund has performed considerably well and has built up a retained earnings of over $10 million. This transfer that is proposed before the council tonight will come from that fund balance account.
And the purpose of this, Mr. Baldwin?
The purpose will be to pay debt service on some of the projects that are being financed through the Mass Clean Water Trust. The two projects in particular are one for the solar array that's out at the water utility, and the other paid for portions of the AMR, the automatic meter reader program in the water department, to replace the old meters with new, more efficient, more high-tech meters.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
And I see it here, I just think it's important for the people at home to know that, this is, there's no raising of anything. This is about paying debt service for the technology and improvements that we have made. So I just thought that was important. Thank you,
All set,
Mr. Mayor.
Council? You all set? Okay. Council Milonazo?
Thank you. Just to follow up on Councilor Elliott's line of questioning, on the debt service, is it principal and interest or just interest that we're paying?
This transfer is only into the interest account. We do pay principal and interest on the loans through the Clean Water Trust, but we were able to cover the principal amount with what was appropriated in the budget.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Cirillo.
Yes.
Counsel Conway.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Motion adopted, thank you. Okay, orders for 60-day trial, waive the first full reading, second reading by title. Yep. Pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinance, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6, therefore entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, Temporary Traffic Regulations, are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
By Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Mercia. And roll call.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Noon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Cirillo.
Yes.
Counsel Conway.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
9
Motion
yeas.
adopted. Ordinance and the city manager. Ordinance amend Chapter 56, Personnel Ordinance, waive first full reading, second reading by title. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinance, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 56, entitled Personnel.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes.
move we refer this to a public hearing for February 13th at 7 p.m.
Right on. I need a motion by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor
Seconded.
Cirillo. Thank you. Motion adopted.
No,
Yes.
I had questions.
Okay.
On this.
Sorry.
Mr. Manager, what is this all, what is this about? We're indemnifying, this is asking us to indemnify up to $1 million arising out of any claim. Why are we doing this and why are we doing it now? I mean, this is liability to the people, to the taxpayers, if this passes, right?
It could, there's no guarantee, it's only if there was a judgment against an individual. Right now, there are many employees, especially in the union contracts that are covered, they have this indemnification. But recently, there's been a number of lawsuits that have filed that have named city councilors individually, they've named the city manager individually, they've named department heads individually, and those individuals are not covered by the same indemnifications that other employees in the city are. So we just felt that it was fair and reasonable that everyone was afforded the same protection when they're sued, whether it's frivolously or not. So that's why we decided to bring in this personnel ordinance change to cover the city council, the city manager, and department heads that aren't covered right now.
Okay, so we've never had it up to this point, and I understand public safety. We've had these indemnification discussions in the past. So before this goes to a public hearing, or when it does, can you please get us the information on what exactly the coverage is for other employees and who is not? So this is going to cover anyone else in the city that is going to get sued, and we're going to have to pay for it. Okay, I'm not so sure this is the best idea, in my opinion. I mean, this just taxpayers are going to have to pay for any lawsuit that we're responsible for. And I know we're going into executive session tonight, so I'll be interested to hear exactly, the nature of those. I understand, I do understand your explanation, but I'm not so sure that, I'd like to know what other communities do as well, Mr. Manager.
I know, having represented Drake-it, they do the same indemnification in Drake-it up to $1 million, but we will get that information. It was just a matter of, in recent history, is that there have been a number of lawsuits filed naming individuals, not in their official capacity, but in their individual capacity, as individuals, which is is quite distressing, but we'll explain this in detail and get you a report as to what
So
other
this is
municipalities.
going to cover people that are sued individually? I mean, how can that possibly be? How can the city of Lowell, how can taxpayers
Because we,
cover, people being sued individually?
people sue individuals all the time, individually in the city. If you look at like the Board of Appeals or the Planning Board or other boards, there are they sue them not only in their official capacity, but in their individual capacity. The Superintendent of Police, whenever there's a suit, you see it's normally in his official capacity and individually, because that's the way they try and get around some of the laws that provide for immunity for certain acts. So we do cover a lot of employees in the city of Lowell with indemnification, and we're just trying to extend this protection to those that haven't had it in the past, but are now facing lawsuits today.
Okay, well, this is going to a public hearing, so I'll have more to say, but I would like some, more information before we proceed on this, and what has happened in other communities, and what has happened in the city of Lowell, if this is in fact indeed necessary. Thank you.
All right, reports, any subcommittee reports? Hearing none. Petitions, claims, street property damages. I need a motion to refer to the Law Department for a report and recommendation.
So moved.
Councilor Mercia.
Seconded.
Seconded by Councilor Cirillo. Motion passed. Now into City Council motions. By Councilor Elliott, requires city manager apply for funding from greening communities programs from the state for planting of trees program. Second?
It's actually greening gateway communities, Mr. Manager, and it's a program, doesn't cost anything, and there's funding available to plant trees, as we talk about your earlier report on curb appeal. I think that one thing is absent in many of the business corridors are, our trees, and I think it adds certainly value, but it also adds character and is very beneficial. So I hope that we can, get an application in. I actually have the individual's name that I'd like to give to you and reach out to see if, we can get funding. I know the City of Lawrence got $2.4 million just at no cost. There's no string attached to it. So just a program I thought we could bring forward as we talk about. And by the way, lastly, this is can go on private property. And again, there's no fee, there's no charge. They have to just water it and take care of it. So that's the motion, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay. Second motion by Councilor Elliott, requires city manager have proper department remove sign infrastructure at Police Garage on Middlesex Street.
Second.
Councilor Mercia.
The motion speaks for itself, Mr. Manager. There are eyesores that sit there. It still says Ace Mufflers. I used to get my mufflers changed there by Harry Speed way back when. So is there a way for us to, take it down with our own DPW crew, knowing that, the overpass is going to be done, and it's just, it's an eyesore. So I just thought I'd bring it forward to see if we could take both of those down, and maybe someone will take it down for the steel. I mean, I don't know, but that's the motion. Thank you.
Okay. Next motion by Councilor Elliott, requires city manager initiate street sidewalk parking plan for Branch Street Business Corridor to coincide with overpass construction. Second? By Councilor Conway.
The motion, again, speaks for itself. We just talked about business corridors. It's a corridor that we're trying to link to those other communities. I think I said, is it Branch? It's Middlesex that goes to Branch, but maybe we can put that in line. I know the business people are forming an organization, and I know I'd filed a motion before to get barrels, just because trash is out there. It's an area that business is coming back in. So,
Is this, going down the ramp towards the Boys Club?
correct.
Okay, so right there, yeah.
And I know the city put an island in there, but again, I think with trees and just some simple improvements will spruce up that area. So that's the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All set. Oh, next one by Council Elliott and Council Leahy, requires city manager provide a report to the Finance Subcommittee regarding the FY18 property valuation assessment, third quarter tax bills and abatement process, and budget impact tax bill. No need for a second.
Go ahead, you can go.
After the last, or the third quarter bills went out, Mr. Manager, I certainly got some calls, and Council Leahy did it. I'm sure we all did. But I just think it's important for us to get a report from you on the property valuation. I know we had a public hearing here, and we approved it to minimize the impact on residential homeowners. But I think it's good to have a discussion about, where the valuations went up, when they went down, and the impact of third quarter bills. People were, some people were concerned and upset with the increase in their tax bills, and I think it's good to get an explanation to be able to get back to them, and so we thought we referred to the Finance Subcommittee for a full discussion of the third quarter bills, the abatement process and what people can do. So that's the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council Leahy?
Yeah, same thing. Just if we get another update on how the assessments work throughout the city, condos, private residents, two families, with the increase. It just seems like we got more calls than normal this time for the third quarter than, it's a combination of everything. The tax went up a little bit, valuations went up, but people just have a lot of questions, so.
Council Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just ask, the motion reads that the report be provided to the Finance Subcommittee. I just ask that it be provided to the entire City Council.
Is that accepted?
Maybe I need to word it. I presume it's going to go to the council and then refer it to the subcommittee.
Council Murphy. City Manager Murphy.
We'll prepare this report and give it to the council, but I do caution any residents that by the time February 1st is the deadline for filing for an abatement on your real estate tax assessment, so we won't be giving this report prior to February 1st, so if you do feel that you're entitled to an abatement, make sure that you file for it before February 1st. And the information is on the website as to how to file for an abatement.
I think, Mr. Mayor, I think that's timely that we make that announcement tonight, that people at home watching, or, your parents or grandparents, or that they do. Today is the 30th, so they have tomorrow and February 1st, at least to get the application, and if they feel that they, are entitled to an abatement, which means that people feel their property valuations are assessed too high, they can submit this application for an abatement. So that's good, Mr. Manager. Thank you.
Council Lee.
And I'm sure it'll be in tomorrow's report in the Lowell Sun, that if they need to file for an abatement, it'll be in there, right?
You're writing the ad? Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, next, on the motion adopted. Council Leahy requires city manager to have Department of Planning and Development provide a report regarding the progress of finding a new location in the city for the Merrimack Valley Food Bank. Need for a second? Council Noon?
Thank you. If we could just get an update on what the progress is for that. It's been a little bit of a time here, and we'd like to keep them in the city. So let's just see where we are. Thank you.
Any discussion? Motion adopted. Council Leahy again requires city manager work with downtown redevelopment subcommittee to identify and enhance the type of businesses that the Department of Planning and Development is attracting to the city. Second. Council Noon.
Thank you. If we could just meet with the downtown subcommittee and meet with DPD and see what's happening. The downtown, let's just see where we're going, what type of businesses we're trying to attract. I mean, the downtown is basically a neighborhood now, but we want people to come downtown. We want them to feel safe, and we want them to have retail and restaurant and what they want. So let's see if we have put our heads together and see what direction we can really focus on for the downtown. Thank you.
Okay, all set. Motion adopted. Next, Council Leahy requires city manager work with the Department of Planning and Development to to establish and enhance marketing campaign for the city of Lowell. Second by Councilor Mercia.
Thank you. Again, it's been a while. We did have the PR campaign with you, Lowell, before. Due to budget cuts, I think everything sort of quieted down. But let's see where we can go with this. Let's see what we can do to enhance a marketing campaign for the city of Lowell and attract some businesses, attract people into the theater, to the Songas, to the ballpark. And so let's see if we can revive that again. Thank you.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, I think every member of this council recently received an email this past week talking about this couple that came in to have dinner in the city of Lowell, probably for their first time, and parked in the parking garage and had to park on one of the upper levels, which then caused them to have to take the stairwell, and they found the stairwell to be less than welcoming. I'll just leave it at that. It seems to me that if we're going to put any effort into marketing the downtown or the city of Lowell, that we have to make sure that it's a welcoming place. And to me, there's just no excuse that the stairwells in the garages would smell that way. Can we get a report from the parking department on who is in charge of cleaning that and how often it's done and what happened in that instance?
Mr. Manager, and it included the elevators, so if you could speak to that.
I met with Nick Navin, the parking director, today, and I've requested him to sit down with the firm that's in charge of cleaning the garages and come up with a plan to address that situation, make sure it doesn't happen in the future. We'll be providing that report to the city council in the very near future.
Sometimes, if I can, Mr. Mayor, sometimes I think that it's difficult to get people to go into the garage in the first place. I think everybody would prefer just a surface parking spot on the street. But it becomes much more difficult to get people to park in the garage if the condition of the exits are going to be like that. But I'll look forward to the report.
Councilor Elliott.
I agree. As you and I spoke, Mr. Manager, and I did respond to the person that sent the email. It's not acceptable. And it's not the first time or the second. I mean, it happens. People come out of the bars or what have you, and it's, we got to stay on the company that, the security company have to identify it. They got to let the people know. And, it was a number of years past where it was a recurring problem. And it's a Sunday morning when people, they got to go in and clean it. Does the company that runs the garage, they're responsible also for cleaning it?
That's my understanding, and I asked Mr. Navin to sit down with them and then issue us a plan to how they're going to address this in the future, so it doesn't happen. Because as I said to Mr. Navin, we're now going to hopefully soon start getting into the good weather when people are going to be coming downtown for festivals, for the Boating House Park concerts, for dinner, and we've got to have a plan to maintain that garage so it isn't like that.
Is there a restroom in the garage? Presumably not, right? And I only say this because it's a recurring problem, and we've got to stay on it. Yeah. And it's unfortunate that we have to deal with it, that it's going to happen, because it's a long-standing problem. I think people come out of the bars and then whatever the issue is, but I agree. I think it's not an impression that we want to leave with people that we get to come into the city. Thank you.
Councilor Malinowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Getting back to the issue of security, is it still Madison Security that takes care of our garages, or is it a different company?
Yes, it's Madison Security, yes.
Okay. Have we ever installed cameras in the stairwells or by the elevators? Do we know?
I'll find out that for you. That'll be part of the report of what security measures we have.
Okay.
My understanding is we have someone on a motorized vehicle going around all the time, but we'll get a complete report as to security also.
Again, I think they are doing that, but if they are still doing that, they should do it when the bars close. You know, they should be downtown, coordinating with the police and so forth. And the technology today is you can have a lot of wireless equipment, so that you could actually have the cameras there and have the video stream actually either go into a police cruiser or go right to the police station, so that you can actually see what the problem is. So I think it's a good motion, one that needs to be taken care of. So thank you.
Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mayor. I think should be an ongoing effort by our city. I know that in 2015, there's collaboration between Lowell Plan, UMass, and the city to try to bring in, highlight what's good about Lowell, and to not in terms of working, but also living and studying. So in conjunction with that, we need to also, when people come to our city, and it has to be an ongoing effort by our city and our partners to make sure that we have a clean and secure parking garage, really. I mean, the people that we have contract with, the least they can do is that making maybe once a day, cleaning that garage. You know, I mean, the stairway, it's look very ugly and dirty. Security is another thing too. So I think those two efforts go hand in hand in terms of marketing Lowell to tourists and people who come to Lowell, so that they come back the next time around, not say, you know what, bye-bye, I'm not going to come back to the city of Lowell. So I think it has to be ongoing effort by the city to do that. Thank you.
Councilor Leahy?
I just wanted to add, too, that this shouldn't be a reflection on the work that you've been doing downtown to the manager with the extra patrols and the cleaning and keeping the streets clean and the shoveling and all that. So it's a small step backwards, but, you know, we've been doing a great effort to make sure that the downtown is safe and clean and secure. So just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. All set? Okay. Motion adopted. Next motion by Councilor Mercia, requires city manager provide update regarding prior motion for Utopia Park, including the status of it as well as the status of the Utopian Park Public Art Hydro Sculpture Project.
Seconded.
By Councilor Cirillo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm going to do a little overview of this particular park because I think some of my colleagues probably have no idea what I might be talking about, and it's that important, so that I sent, I had Karen Moynihan do a copy for every city councilor where in the Hamilton Canal this park is, and a picture of the beautiful monument sculpture that's going to be there. On March 3rd of 2015, I made a motion for the Parks Subcommittee along with Councilor John Leahy and former Councilor Danny Rourke to convene a meeting to discuss naming a park in the Hamilton Canal District, which all of my colleagues have a schematic design of it. That was once referred only as Point Park, because as you could see from the picture, the park came to a point and rename it Utopia Park. Thanks to the whole city council at the time, the motion passed unanimously, and on March 17, 2015, the Park Subcommittee met to discuss the plan, which then was referred to the Board of Parks, which also unanimously passed by them as well. All these actions, meetings, and motions that took place were through the Cultural Organization of Lowell, who through the manager, Kevin Murphy, made us aware of this. And so actually, Newell Flathers of the Parker Foundation suggested that an impactful space should have a name, something more than just a description of a shape or a point, but as a land of ideal perfection, as Utopia suggests. Our message was that if this was the wish of the very people donating the money for a sculpture and they had legitimate concerns with the name of the park, then the city council and the committees should take this through each step to make it official, and it was, so that on November 2nd, 2015, at 3 in the afternoon, a ribbon-cutting ceremony declared Utopia Park official and here to stay, representing the land ideal perfection. This motion asks for an update because I know there's more plans in the works, and through this city council, I am asking for the update on Utopia Park, as well as the plans for the public art hydro sculpture project as to a timeline of future developments and assorted costs. And I would also like to refer this motion back to the Park Subcommittee for further information. That's the gist of this motion, so that we have the updated plans and we come back to you from that subcommittee to tell you where we're going with it. Because I know it's been a while, but it's very expensive, and you'll find the breakdown of who's paying what and that. And I think it's very important because it is an up-and-coming area, and it's a beautiful piece of property, as you could see from the schematic designs. So thank you very much.
You're all set?
Yep.
Any other discussion? Motion to passes, or motion adopted. Next, by Councilor Milonazo, requires city manager take all necessary steps to reinstate the Article 97 restrictions on the parks and open space lands which have been removed during the Lowell High School MSBA site selection process.
Second.
Second by Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager. In light of the citywide election held in November, I think it makes sense to unwind what we had requested the state delegation to do on behalf of the city with Article 97. So if you can take whatever steps are necessary, probably going back to the board, I really don't know at this particular point, but to unwind that whole Article 97 vote, just to make sure that the parkland at Cawley, the open space, the reservoir land, the Boston Road plans for the park and so forth. Not to say that those wouldn't happen out at Boston Road, because I know there was some discussions with Lowell Catholic along the way, but at the end of the day, it probably makes sense to remove and put back in place those Article 97 restrictions.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, or maybe to the city solicitor, what are the steps that need to be taken? I mean, my recollection is that there was legislation that was passed, so does that legislation have to be, do we need to file more legislation to undo that, or did the existing legislation have a sunset clause, if you will, that it just would expire, or how did that all work? Could we get a...
Sure, the legislation itself does have a sunset clause of 5 years. If we want to speed that up, we would have to go through the same process that we utilized in order to have it in place. The other thing that's noteworthy is when it was approved, it was only approved for the use of a school. So nothing can really happen in the meantime. However, we can begin looking into how to speed that process up to restore it back to the original standing.
Well, it might be a technicality, but are we still eligible for further, for monies, for state monies while that's in place? I mean, we have not put the replacement fields such as they were. Those are not, that's not all done. So where does the whole thing stand at this point? Is it just, is it in limbo, or just where are we? Or is this something that you would prefer to provide a report on next week?
Yes, we'll review the matter and report back to the council.
Okay.
Other discussion? Okay. Motion adopted. Next, by Councilor Noon, requires city manager provide a report regarding the scope of the project and parking proposal for the F1 William Fidelity Investment Dormitory Project on Merrimack Street. You have a speaker. Do you want the speaker to speak first before you address this? I need a second.
Seconded.
Second by Councilor Cirillo.
Maybe the speaker start.
First.
Go first.
Is there a speaker? We have a speaker.
Patty Coffey.
Good evening. I'm Patty Coffey. I reside at 287 Dutton Street in Lowell. Tonight, I'm here to present a statement on behalf of UMass Lowell. I'm Assistant Director of Community and Government Relations at UMass Lowell. The university appreciates and supports Councilor Noon's motion for further study of this particular private dormitory proposal, as well as the existing regulations governing the development of private dormitories in Lowell. The experience with this project, as well as the Edge Merrimack River development, suggests that further review of these types of projects may be warranted. The university does not believe market demand for off-campus private student dormitory beds exists in Lowell. The challenges that Edge Merrimack River has had, leasing their property, reinforce that there is little need for additional dormitory beds. The growth in demand for on-campus housing has also been slower than projected, largely due to financial constraints that families are experiencing. Whew. Nervy up here, sorry. Last spring and summer, university representatives attended several neighborhood and planning board meetings regarding the private dorm proposal by William Fideli Investments. In addition to the lack of market demand for student housing, that proposal did not meet the minimum set of standards laid out in section 7.8 of the city's zoning ordinance regarding a student conduct and security plan, a transportation plan, and parking and transportation requirements, and was eventually withdrawn by the applicant. The proponents have resubmitted a proposal that is largely consistent with the prior submittal for review at Monday night's planning board meeting. That's this Monday night, February 5th. The university remains concerned with many of the same issues which have still not been satisfactorily addressed. The current zoning for multifamily housing in Lowell was established following an extensive and inclusive community-wide planning effort and thoughtfully designed to facilitate the introduction of positive development that will strengthen the neighborhood for all of its constituents. The university would likely support an effort to develop this property with a mixed-use apartment building that was consistent with zoning and supported by Acre residents. Unfortunately, the attempts to permit a dormitory when the market doesn't exist seem to ignore these important regulations to the detriment of the community. Thank you very much.
Would you mind standing at the podium just in case anybody has questions? Councilman Noon?
Thank you, Mayor. I know this is a big project for the Acres. I know that this project requires a site review by the planning board, which I, understand is scheduled for next week. I believe it's February 5th. Also need a special permit from Zoning Board of Appeal. What my concern is that I just want to wait in both ends of it, what impact will this project have on the Acre neighborhood in terms of parking. I know parking is a major issue in most areas, but this project is getting relief for parking and the requirement of parking that they provide. My understanding is that roughly they needed 240 parking spaces. On site, they provided roughly between 90 and 93. I know that it's going to be at least from the Greek church, which is a few blocks away, of 120 parking spaces, and then the air-out garage, the rest of them. I know from my experience with the Zoning Board of Appeal, when you have a project that's no parking nearby, the conditions that, hey, I'm going to find a parking 3 blocks away. Usually that whoever that live there in that project or that place or do business in that place, they're not going to walk 3 blocks away to park their car and come to the business. Usually that doesn't happen. So that certainly is going to, I want to know what impact would that have on the Acre neighborhood people as far as parking. So that's the report asking for that, also asking for the scope of it. I don't know the exact number of how many how many unit and how many bed they're going to seek to do. But I do remember last meeting we talking about the edge, living on the edge basically, and that's people refer to, which rightfully so, because the question is, who's going to monitor, who's going to supervise those kids? What impact would that have on the security resource for the city? Like say the police respond. I know that it's been recent with the edge because they just moved in sometime in September of last year. So we wouldn't be able to get the report from the police as to a number of response they have to go there and what kind of response. But back to this project, if I could get a report on the impact that would have on parking on the Acres and Acre neighborhood. And that's what I'm looking to see if we can look at that. And so, thank you.
Councilor Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. the planning board is going to meet on Monday, February 5th, and I don't know what plan we have or what we could do to have them. I don't know if we have any input to tell them to delay this because it's so uncertain. For one thing, the company has agreed to contribute $800,000 to construct a new parking garage in the acre. Where? Where in the acre? On Merrimack Street? What are we going to tear down businesses now and put a garage there? We're going to displace more people just to put in, I don't know. It's just so confusing. And I don't trust what I'm hearing when this company, WFI, they incorrectly stated that the Coalition for a Better Acre, they're partnering with the Lowell Housing Authority to build that garage, and the city manager, namely you, Mr. Manager, and a CBA Executive Director, Young Ju Choi, said their organizations have nothing to do with this project. How are they able to get away with saying this? So I'm supposed to believe that they're going to revamp this whole situation and submit another proposal when they lie? I just don't understand that. And I'm wondering if it's possible through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city solicitor, could any one of us speak at that meeting as a citizen of the city, and not in a capacity of a city councilor, but in the capacity of a person, of a taxpayer in the city? Because people did call me up and say, gee, I understand you have concerns. I said, yes, I certainly do have concerns. Think about if you lived on Salem Street, right down the street from a market where this place is going to be, Cabot Market, Merrimack. And I'm going to ask you this as human nature. Are you going to want to park at the Ayotte garage down in God's country down there? Or are you going to park where it's feasible for you, where it's convenient for you? So I'm assuming, as human nature would say, that I would try to park as close as I could to my spot. So I think I might venture down to Salem Street, and I'm believing that the Housing Authority is in tune with this, and I don't know how they can be, because if people are living within the perimeter of Market Street and they don't have enough, say their company comes and students are parking there, I mean, then we're going to hear complaints from the housing saying, you know, these people are taking our spot, and then it's a little bit too late now. But I'm thinking if we lived on Salem Street and there's no driveways there, it's not like it's an area of the city that has ample parking and driveways. So these blocks, people that live in the blocks are parking on the street only to be met with no place to park because the dorm kids are down the street. This is not conducive to the character of that neighborhood. I just don't see this happening. I just can't imagine it. And there isn't a need for that, as we could see down by the Edge Merrimack River complex. It didn't work out there, and I'm certainly sure it's not going to work out here. I'd like to speak on it. If there's a way they're going to vote on that, I would be against them. For a simple reason is I don't know how they're going to, or where they're going to put a garage. It's nice to say I'm going to spend $800,000 to build a garage, but I don't see plans, and I don't think that the planning board should be voting on something that they don't have all the information on, namely, where is this parking lot going? And that's my complete feelings on the subject. Put yourself in the position of the people that live on Salem Street. Have a little compassion for those people that don't have a place to park, and they're going to be sourced out with another development. That's not fair to the people in Salem Street in the acre. That's not fair at all. I wouldn't want it in my neighborhood to happen like that. So, and I understand that there are people that are supporting it that live in Belvedere. They didn't want a school there, but they want to shove something in on Salem Street. I don't like that. It's all about the money. Show me the money. Well, it's about people first. It's about people. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Solicitor.
Sure. Counselors may, in their individual capacity, speak before any regulatory board like any other citizen, resident of the community. It is important, however, that when you do that, you do make it clear that you're there in your individual capacity.
Thank you.
Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I just want to say too that, it's well known that this isn't a project that the acre wants. And for them to come back and try to go through this over and over, it just doesn't make sense. It's not a good project for the neighborhood, and quite frankly, I'm surprised that Jean D'Arc is pursuing this, because it's not neighborly to do that to this neighborhood. They've been a good business there, they have a good reputation, and this isn't good for anybody over there. There's not enough parking, it's too much, and it just needs to go away.
Any further discussion? Councilor Cirillo?
Yes, I thank you so much, because I think this is a great motion, because I have heard from the people in the acre that they do not want to see this move forward. And I appreciate Councilor Mercier's question with regards to if we can go as residents to this meeting, because I was going to have the same question and speak out against this. So thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Patty, thank you for your presentation. Thank you. Motion adopted. Next, by Councilor Noon, City Manager provide a report regarding the status of the voting rights litigation against the city.
Second.
Second by Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. I know when this litigation came up, some of us, people in the community say, why it happened? I think, I don't think the people who are party in this jump up and down and say, we enjoy doing it. I think positive thing came out of it, and the issues of this case has been talked, and there's ad hoc committee. The previous council have created ad hoc committee to look into it, because this is issues that, not only the low community, but also the leaders. A leader of university, who's now president of university, 3 years ago said to the Commonwealth magazine, he said that, I quote him, that he feels that every community should be represented. And he raised issues of the current system that we have does not ensure that. And that's what he said. And this is somebody who are leaders that a lot of us recognize and value and respect. I know that ad hoc committees has been created and a number of meetings has been conducted at the neighborhood. I'd like to get a status of where we are in terms of in court. I know it's going to be updated to us through the executive session from our city solicitor, Christian O'Connor. But also, I'd like to see if we can get a report. An update as to of all those ad hoc committee meeting, the council ad hoc committee meeting, what are the status of it, and what did we hear from the community as to how they feel about this? So those are reports that I'm looking to get, so that we can move this forward and resolve this. As soon as we can. If we can, out of court, because the longer we delay it, the longer we have it sit before the court, the more it's going to cost our city taxpayer. B, it's going to tarnish the image of our city. So those are the two things that we need to move this matter out of court as quick as possible. And so with the report,
Councilor Noon, we're going into the case, and we really can't do that at this particular point. So I'd ask you, you've asked for a report, and I'd ask that it ended at that.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, with the report, Mayor, that with the report we can move this process ahead forward. Thank you,
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Kennedy, Councilor Kennedy.
I would just point out that we'll be going into executive session to talk about pending litigation at the conclusion of this meeting, and that might be a time to to ask those questions and more.
Any further questions? Motion adopted. Next, by Council Conway, requires city manager work with proper departments to ensure pedestrian safety and walkability at the intersection of Pawtucket Boulevard and the Rourke Bridge. Second? By Councilor Elliott.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
Conway.
Mayor. A
Conway.
couple of residents from Pawtucketville had a concern, and they pointed it out as the fact is that it's not a friendly area to try to walk from point A to point B. So I'm wondering if the city manager could bring somebody, the proper departments up there that could take a look at it, and whether crosswalks would be appropriate, or something that's going to make that a safer area, so that people can feel confident going across the street there. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay. Motion adopted. Next, we have a motion by Councilor Kennedy and Councilor Cirillo that needs no second. Requires city manager to meet with the representatives from the OFO bike sharing program and provide city council with a report regarding the feasibility of establishing a bike sharing program in Lowell. We have speakers. Do you want to have the speakers?
I'd like to go first. By previous agreement, Councilor Cirillo and I agreed that I would go first, and so I'd like to speak before the speakers if I could. And I'll try to be as brief as possible. A couple of weeks ago, I was at the Mass Municipal Association annual meeting and trade show, and had an opportunity to go to a workshop on economic development. And at the workshop on economic development, which lasted 2 hours, all of the discussion was about Amazon applications. All of it was about the people who made up the panel, and all the questions all had to do with the Amazon proposals. One of the proposals and one of the people that was on the panel was from Worcester. And one of the things that they featured in their proposal was this bike sharing program that they have. And they have what caught my attention was that theirs is different than others that I've looked at, in that it is dockless. So that instead of having to put your bicycle at a bike rack and then maybe walk sometime, you can just drive to your location, to your destination, and you just leave the bike there. And that's it. And I think that is probably the type of program that would work well in Lowell. And I've had an opportunity to have a discussion with people in Worcester about, and they've had their program since September. And they started off with 200 bikes. They now have 400 bikes. There is no liability to the city. The company assumes all liability. The charge is $1 an hour. If you're a student, it's 50 cents an hour. And there is a crew that goes around and makes sure that the bikes are being maintained. And if I were to drive to your house, Mr. Mayor, and leave the bike outside, and then I were able to get a ride differently, and the bike was there and you didn't want it there, you could call up this company, and they would come and remove the bike and bring it to a different location. They started in Worcester. They started their program in September. They stopped it in December when the snow came, but they're expecting to start up again in April. They're very happy with the program. Again, there's no charge to the city, no liability, but the big thing for me is that it is dockless. The tires are solid rubber tires so that you can have no flat tires, but part of what makes it work is the crew of people that drive around and make sure that the bikes are maintained. And the company that does this is a Chinese company, and this is one of my favorite parts, and the company is called OFO, which when I first heard it, I was wondering what OFO was, if it was somebody's name or if it was, 3 initials. But then I came to find out that OFO, O-F-O, is, and I just think this is creative marketing. It is, the 2 O's are the bike wheels, and then the F is the guy riding the bike in the middle, or a woman riding the bike in the middle. And that's where OFO comes from, and I just thought that was good. I know that we've looked at other bike sharing programs in the city, but I think that we, for one to be successful in Lowell, we really need to go with a dockless system, and that's what this is. And I'm not sure that there is any other dockless system. Some people may have heard on the news, there are cities where they have bike racks, and sometimes the bikes collect at the bike racks to a point where it's just ridiculous, so that there can be hundreds and hundreds of bikes piled upon the bike rack. And that doesn't work, and I don't think that's anything that we want to see here. But Worcester is similar to Lowell in many ways, and if this program works in Lowell at 400 bikes, then Lowell should be able to do it at maybe 250, 300 bikes. So what the motion, I'll turn it over to Councilor Cirillo, who knows probably a lot more about this than I do, but I'd like to see the city manager meet with the people from OFO and come back with a motion. I think we can have bikes on the street here in Lowell by the springtime. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Councilor Cirillo. Thank you.
Yes, here's the clever marketing. That's the clever marketing. And I also spoke with someone from Worcester. It was Stuart at the Chamber of Commerce, and he spoke very highly of OFO and their pilot program, because this was a pilot program. Currently, there are only 2 programs in the country. One's in California, and the other just happens to be in Worcester. A lot of people were using the bikes, not just in the downtown, but the outskirts of neighborhoods, which is a big deal. They found the bikes everywhere. Everyone was using them. They were very excited about it. There was an uptick in use of bikes, and they were happy and excited about the partnership. They went out of their way, OFO went out of their way to partner with other businesses in the city. They actually became Chamber of Commerce members. Worcester is now working on an ordinance for bike sharing, so they're very excited. Once again, Stuart said that OFO found them, and it worked, and they are very, very happy with it. And I think that this goes along with, being a healthier and stronger Lowell, and I think that more people using bikes and heading into the downtown will bring more businesses, more people into the downtown, more money into the businesses. I think that this is all around a fantastic option, and I look forward to seeing the report. Thank you.
Yeah. Councilor Milonazo, and then City Manager.
Thank you. I think it's a good motion. Just to update my colleagues, the City of Revere actually started this last year, and they have a bike sharing program. And again, it's done with a GPS system too. So when they drop the bikes at a corner, the team goes around and picks the bikes up. And kids are using them to go to school. Adults are using them to go shopping. It's just really, truly amazing how it's caught on so quickly. Again, you don't see them in the wintertime, for obvious reasons, but you may want to reach out to Mayor Arrigo in Revere and just get a sense from him as to how it's working. And again, the way it's set up, as I understand it, there's an app on your phone, and you can actually pay for the bike and unlock it from the secured position, and then go off, and then just leave it where you want to leave it, and they come around and pick it up. So it has worked in the city. I don't know if it's the same company. It could possibly be the same company, but it's certainly something that this community should look at. So thank you for bringing it forward.
Mr. Manager.
I've already met with representatives from OFO, and they've made the presentation to me. I'm also meeting with another dockless group in the near future, and called Lime Bikes, another marketing genius because their bikes are colored green. They're going to present their to me, and then I'll come back to the council with their proposal and what my recommendation would be for where we would put these bikes. I think in this, we're talking about, using some centralized hubs like the University of Mass Lowell, some of our parking garages, as where you would put the bikes and then go from there. But you're right, it's a GPS system. They have a truck that goes around to pick them up, and so there are at least 2 that we will interview and then come back with a report to the city council.
Any other council? Councilor Elliott? Okay, then, I was just asking. Okay, speakers? We have some.
Jeffrey Cage?
Thank you, Mayor, councilors. I'm Jeffrey Cage. I live at 141 John Street in Lowell. I am the coordinator of the Merrimack Valley Sierra Club team, a Lowell-based branch of the Massachusetts Sierra Club. We represent 1,700 members and supporters of the Sierra Club who live in Lowell. We support Councilor Kennedy and Cirillo's motion 11.13 for a bike sharing feasibility study in Lowell. Bikes will cut down automobile traffic, cut CO2 emissions, noise, consumption of fossil fuels. Bikes will encourage fitness and health of the people and add to the street life characteristic of a vibrant, livable city. The City Council has many pressing problems, but in addressing them, we must not lose sight of the desire of a growing majority of Lowell residents for quality of life. In compact city, where most trips are under 5 miles, bicycling could be a much more useful and popular mode of transportation. We just need safe places to ride. Lowell should build a comprehensive network of bicycle lanes, paths, traffic-calm bike priority streets, and begin a bike sharing program. Thank you.
Lisa Arnold.
Lisa Arnold, downtown 58 Prescott Street. I am here on behalf of the Lowell Bike Coalition, and I would like to thank many of the members for showing up to support this initiative. And we are 400 members strong. The Lowell Bike Coalition supports this motion, and I wanted to bring up a couple of issues. Dockless bike share programs have proven to increase ridership, especially with youth and lower income residents, as long as pricing, availability, and location are taken into consideration. There are 8 real benefits. First, that it improves the health and well-being. 72% of users in 4 North American cities report cycling more. More cycling leads to healthier people and less money for medical costs. There are economic benefits. 70% of businesses report a positive impact on the neighborhood, and a 20% increase in spending by people who arrive by bicycle. This supports public transportation. People who use the dockless or bike share program increase multimodal trips. And it helps with that last mile connector. Here in Lowell, we have the Gallagher station. Definitely that getting from Gallagher over into the city is a difficult walk. It's kind of dangerous, not very safe. Bicycling could help with that. It reduces car use, relief on the perceived parking issue in Lowell. An average of 40% of bike share riders drove less after signing up for the program. It improves access to jobs, education, and amenities. For those who don't own a bike or a car, bike share will help overcome mobility issues and open up a wider range of opportunities. It develops tourism. Visiting cyclists spends an average of $25 a day locally compared to a visitor coming by car. And it improves safety for cyclists as well as neighborhoods. 5 bike share cities reported a total drop in cyclist injuries of 28% compared to a 2% increase in control cities. That's kind of counterintuitive. You got more bikes, you'd think there's more accidents. The reality is more bicycles, more awareness. People know where we are. They can see us, and it becomes just the awareness, and it also starts to encourage the increase in bicycle infrastructure for the city. Finally, I'd like to add that the Sustainable Lowell 2025 program was adopted in 2013. It's now 2018. In the section on mobility and access, the third bullet says to support especially the establishment of a citywide regional bike share program. It's been 3 years. It's about time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you. Anything, city councilors, all set? Motion adopted. Okay, we're going to go into executive session for updates on the matters of litigation, public discussion of which could have a detrimental effect on the city's position. I need a motion to enter an executive session.
A motion that we
Second
enter
by-
executive session and then adjourn from the executive session.
The council will adjourn from the executive session.
Okay.
Okay, roll call, please.
Council Mercy.
Yes.
Council Milonato.
Yes.
Council Moon.
Yes.
Mayor Samaras.
Yes.
Council Cirillo.
Yes.
Council Conlon.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy. 9 yeas.